This is my 2003 Land Rover Defender TD5. I've owned it for about 7 years and it's my daily driver. I thought I'd just share this video of me replacing the spring and shock absorber along with a flexible brake hose on the front right hand side of the vehicle. The first thing I did was remove the plastic turret cover under the bonnet. This allowed access to the top nut of the shock absorber and also allowed a little light in to the wheel well from above. I then loosened the wheel nuts, jacked up the body and supported it on an axle stand. Then I put a jack under the axle and raised it so that I could then remove the front wheel. Next was the removal of the turret. The nuts on the turret are accessible and 2 of them came undone and 2 of them snapped. This was not a problem. I'm replacing all the parts that I am removing. With my previous experience with carrying out this type of work on my Land Rover, I found a spanner to remove the nut and bolt is usually the last resort after the angle grinder, drill and blowtorch. I eventually get the old turret and shock undone and pass them through the top access hole. The bottom nut on the shock absorber has limited access and was very corroded. The only way I could remove it was with a little heat and then just basically hold the bottom of the nut with a spanner and use a pair of grips to turn the old shock absorber body. Now the removal of the old spring. I had to let down the jack that I had under the axle to extend the spring. I fitted spring compressors and tightened them until there was enough clearance for the spring to come out. This is quite a time-consuming job. Anyway, with the spring removed, I could then remove the bottom plate. To my surprise, one of the nuts and bolts actually came undone. The second one just needed a touch with the angle grinder and a spin with the power gun. The lock nuts for the brake hose were completely seized. The only way I could loosen these lock nuts was to drill a hole in the nut itself until it was weak enough to snap when pressure was applied with a spanner. I scraped off all the loose material from the spring chassis mount and the shock area on the axle and sprayed some underbody seal to the general area. Later I will apply Lano Guard to the whole area. I fitted the new brake hose and removed air from the fluid and checked for leaks. I brushed Lano Guard and copper slip onto components where it was appropriate. With protective gloves on, this makes the refitting job a little bit messy. Fitting all of the new components was pretty straightforward. The new spring needed to be compressed and persuaded to go into place. Fitting the new turret was not as easy as I expected, but I got it on there eventually. This job went reasonably well, but I wouldn't say it was easy. I started the job about 9:30 AM and did not finish both sides until around 6:30 PM. The end result was a surprise. After replacing the rear springs the day before, I didn't really notice a lot of difference in the ride height. After replacing the front, it looks and feels much higher. Unfortunately, I forgot to measure the front height before I started the work. The new springs and shocks are all standard height. All the bottom plates and turrets were all galvanised and of good quality. I purchased everything new from various sellers on eBay with no problems. This included all the shocks and springs and plates for the rear, as well as all of the front. Shocks, springs and plates. Total cost £442. Bargain.